Welcome to the Tech Report's first ever full video review. I'm Nathan, and today we will be reviewing Corsair gaming mice. Before we start, just keep in mind that all these gaming mice have cords which must be plugged into USB ports in order to get the best performance while gaming. So, to start off, we will begin with the Raptor M45. This mouse is on the cheaper end. It's mostly made of plastic. The base and all the outside are made out of plastic. It's just like a normal, just your normal mouse made out of plastic. It has 3 metal weights that can be taken out to adjust the weight of the mouse. They're on the bottom, and so you can make it heavier or lighter depending upon your preferences. On the side of the mouse, it has 2 programmable buttons, which you can program to do whatever you want while you're gaming. It also has 2 buttons on the top which can be used to adjust the DPI, and in between these 2 buttons are 3 LED lights, and they let you know which DPI setting you are on. The scroll wheel feels heavier than a typical mouse, but it's less clicky as you're going from selection to selection, which I really like the feel of it. The mouse has a red LED glow that can be turned on or off in the mouse software. One interesting thing about this mouse is it uses an infrared light instead of a laser, like most mice, and Corsair claims that it's supposed to give the mouse a bit more precision, but I did some basic testing and I couldn't tell any difference at all between it and mice that use a laser. But if you did a bit of rigorous testing with like a camera that slowed it down, you might be able to tell a difference. In order to take advantage of the 2 side buttons which you can program, you must download some software from the Corsair website. The mouse comes with a URL that's supposed to bring you to a page where you can download the software, but I couldn't ever get the URL to work. Instead, you can go to the Corsair website and go to the tab that says support, and there's a button that says downloads, and underneath that it says drivers. If you go there, then it will show you a list of all the drivers for all of their products, like keyboards and headsets and mice, and you can download the software there. The interface for this software is a bit confusing. There's a box that looks like it's supposed to be the place where you punch in the key that you want that button to hit, but instead you have to go to button options and go to basic buttons and click keystroke and then click add, and then you can type it in. Within this software, you can also change what each of the 3 DPI settings is set to. This can be useful if you have different DPI settings that you use for different games. You can also manage different profiles that all have different DPI settings and different button settings for different games. You can even choose which game each profile is for, and whenever you start up that game, then it will automatically switch itself to that profile. This is definitely a nice feature, but it doesn't switch back to your default profile once you exit the game. This can get quite annoying because if you're just trying to use the mouse for everyday use, like going back and forth between a page by using the side button, then suddenly you do something else because of the game that you had recently played. The max DPI that you can set this mouse to in the settings is 5,000, so it's pretty high. So what price range are we looking at here? The Raptor M45 is $60 in the US. Now that we're done listing the features of this mouse, what do I think about it? Well, it's a mouse that has a very good feel to it while you're gaming. You can grasp it firmly, and it's just an overall good experience. So if you're looking for a mouse that just feels good, this is a mouse that you should look into. There are a couple things about it that I don't like, however. The DPI setting to turn the DPI up is right below the scroll wheel, and so if you're playing an FPS or something where you sometimes frantically scroll, you could accidentally hit that, and then suddenly your DPI is turned way up and you're going all crazy all across the screen. As I mentioned before, I'm a bit disappointed with the mouse software. It's mostly good, but I'm frustrated that the method of changing what each side button does is not clear, and I really wish that somehow the mouse would be able to go back to the default profile when you exit a game. In conclusion, this mouse is overall pretty good, but I'd only recommend it to new gamers or gamers that don't want to spend too much money on a good gaming mouse, who just want a good feel on their mouse. But if you're looking for something a bit more hardcore that allows you to do things that other mice wouldn't let you do, I suggest picking up one of the two mice that we're about to take a look at.
You have won the match.
The next mouse that we'll be taking a look at is the Vengeance M65. This is basically an upgraded version of the M45. It's mostly the same, but the base is made out of metal instead of plastic, so it's a bit heavier. It still has the weights in there, but because the base is made out of metal, the max weight for the M45 will never be able to be as heavy as the M65. Another minor difference is it uses a laser instead of an infrared sensor, and it has a very, very faint light blue glow toward the front of the mouse that kind of comes out of the area around the scroll wheel. The major difference between the M65 and the M45, besides the price, is that it has a new button added to the side. It's a red button that has a little crosshair symbol on it, and they call it the sniper button. It quickly switches your mouse to a lower DPI while you hold the button down, and then as soon as you're taking your finger off of the button, then the DPI goes back to normal. This sniper button DPI can be changed in the mouse software along with all the other stuff that can be changed with the M45. The max DPI that the M65 can be set to is 8,200, which is quite a bit higher than the M45, but I don't know when you'd ever turn it up that high, because at that point you have no precision at all and you cannot control at all where your mouse is going. So the price we're looking at here is $70 in the US, so $10 more than the M45. So the question you have to ask yourself is $10 more worth having a bit more weight and a sniper button? Personally, I'd say yes, the $10 is definitely worth a bit more weight and definitely worth the sniper button. I found myself using the sniper button so many times while playing FPSs. It's just so useful, and it doesn't even have to be when you're sniping. For example, I used it while firing tank shells out of a tank in PlanetSide 2. It's just nice to get a bit more precision every once in a while when you need it, just at a click of a button, and then let go real quickly and it's done. As you've been seeing in a bit of the gameplay here that I've been showing, I've been doing that. It's also just nice when you're aiming down sights in first-person shooters. And you don't even use it all the time, it's just between everyday use, every once in a while you want a bit more precision. I myself want it quite often, and you can just easily turn that on or off. In conclusion, I believe that this is a very good mouse, especially if you want to be able to do something that others cannot do because they don't have a sniper button. It feels as good as the M45. I personally like a bit more weight than the M45 can offer, and so if you're willing to step up an extra $10, this mouse is definitely the mouse for you. The final mouse that we'll be taking a look at is the Vengeance M95. This mouse is vastly different than the M65 and the M45, but let's go over what is similar before we move into the differences. It has the same high mass scrolling wheel that feels very good. Also, the base is made out of aluminum, just like the M65, and it has the same software. It's titled under a different name, but actually within the software you can switch in between each mouse, so that's nice. Another quick software thing that is different than the others is that it is supposed to have onboard profile storage, which means the changes that you make in the software are actually stored in the mouse itself instead of on your computer. So you could go take this mouse and plug it into a different computer and you'd have the same profiles and all the settings. It's done for you, so you won't have to set them up again. It's just you'll have to download the software on that computer, but at least you don't have to set it all back up again. So, what are the differences? Well, this is considered an MMO or an RTS gaming mouse. And what does that mean? Well, if you take a look at the side of this thing, it's full of buttons. It has 9 programmable buttons on the side, which sounds crazy, but I'll get into that in a minute. It also has a few more buttons. On the top, it has 2 Dpi Adjustment Buttons, like the M65 and M45, except they're put in a different place, which I personally think is better because you don't have the issue that I listed earlier with them. They are on the top left corner, and they're pretty small, but they're easy to reach, and you don't accidentally ram into them. Along with the 2 buttons on the top to adjust the DPI, it also has one more button a little bit below the scroll wheel, but far enough back that it's a complete pain to get to. You have to reach your finger all the way back in order to hit it, and you don't have time to do that while you're gaming, and you don't want to do that either. That just feels awkward and So, what else? The M95 has a nice rounded feel to it instead of the more angular M45 and M65, which is preference on whichever one you like. If you like a more rounded mouse or an angular mouse, it just depends upon your preference. This mouse also has a blue LED glow. It's not too bright, but it's just kind of nice and there. It's nothing you should really worry about, and if it is worrying you, you can turn it off in the software just like the other LED glows on the other mice. For the max DPI, it's the same as the M65 with 8,200 as the max, which once again is way too high to even use. I don't know why you'd even want 8,200, but anyways. And the price we're looking at here is $80 in the US. So that's $10 more in the M65, $20 more in the M45. So what are my thoughts? Well, this is a very nice mouse. I loved it. When I opened it up out of the package, I pulled it out and I looked at the side of the thing and I thought, oh my gosh, there are so many frickin' buttons here. What do I do with all these? And are these going to get in the way of my finger? Because I thought that these might get in the way, but then you put your hand on the mouse and your hand just melts into the mouse, and there's a nice hole right in the middle of the buttons for your thumb to rest in, so the buttons don't get in your way. Which is nice because there are other gaming mice like this that have a bunch of buttons on the side, and there is not a hole for your thumb, and so if you like gripping your mouse, then the buttons get in the way because you're constantly hitting the buttons instead of holding the mouse, which can get annoying, but Corsair did a very good job positioning the buttons. Personally, this is my favorite out of all of these 3 mice that we're taking a look at, but I do have a few complaints. There are 6 small LEDs next to the side buttons that are supposed to indicate which mouse profile you are on, but even after programming them, and there's a little button that says upload to the mouse. I did that and it still doesn't recognize it, and it just stays stuck at the 3rd light, so I don't know what's up with that. I don't know if that's just the one mouse that I got is not working, or it's the software or what, but it's not working for me. Also, it has a slight lip in the back, which I'll show on the screen here, and it's not very big, but it's big enough that every once in a while when I'm moving the mouse back really quickly, and I've been playing for a while and my hands are kind of sweaty, then it will slip and that lip will run over the back of my hand and my skin will like run up underneath that, and suddenly your mouse is like stuck in your back of your hand. Doesn't feel very good, and I don't like that. I don't know if there's any reason why they designed it with a small lip, but I can't think of any reason, and it's annoying. Also, it has no weights on the bottom for adjusting the weight, which I personally don't have anything to complain about because I like the weight of it, but it would be a nice addition for some people who like lighter or heavier mice. My final conclusions for the Vengeance M95 is that it's a very nice mouse if you're looking for something hardcore and you're willing to spend a bit more money than what you would pay for an average mouse. It also partially comes down to if the buttons will annoy you. Even though there is a good spot for your thumb button, all the buttons still might annoy you, and it depends upon whether or not you want an angular mouse or a more rounded mouse. So if you want the more rounded mouse, then you're going to want to go for the M95. So that concludes this mouse review. Hopefully, if you're looking for a good gaming mouse, then this convinced you that you might want to look into one of these 3 mice and consider buying them. If you need any help or have any questions, you can post a comment in the comments section for YouTube, or post a comment in the comment section of the Tech Report website, and I'll be answering questions and helping people out with my YouTube account / Tech Report account, which is Gyromancer. So feel free to ask questions, and all the links to these mice will be in the description below, along with the Tech Report and my YouTube channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll hope to see you next time. Later.